Hello all. So in the last sessions we were discussing about what is AI and how AI solves a typical problem by using its traditional approaches, and then we have seen major issues with the AI solving typical problems, for which we have started working on one subset of AI, which was machine learning. So in the last session we have discussed about what is machine learning and what is deep learning, right? So as I told you earlier, we would be focusing on machine learning throughout the subject here on. Okay, so today in this session I would talk about what are the different types of machine learning systems we have. Okay, so when I talk about types of machine learning systems, there are four important categories of machine learning systems. Okay, supervised, unsupervised, semi supervised and reinforcement. Okay, so in some cases only three are referred to: supervised, unsupervised and then reinforcement. Semi supervised is combination of supervised and unsupervised, which is very not much frequently used. Okay, so we would concentrate more on supervised learning systems, unsupervised learning systems and reinforcement learning systems today in the session. Okay, so as you see here, there are three types of machine learning systems. One is called as supervised learning, second is called as unsupervised learning, third is called as reinforcement learning. Let us look into each of them in detail. Okay, so let me start with supervised learning. So as you can see here in the data, okay, so supervised learning is all about giving labeled data. When I talk about labels, okay, so what I can see here in the input is I have few symbols and all the symbols are labeled. Okay, so I have four different symbols here: rectangle, circle, triangle and hexagon. Okay, so each of them are labeled: rectangle, circle, triangle, hexagon. These are the labels. Okay, so in supervised learning we give labeled data to the model. Okay, so we take input data which is labeled, we give that particular data to the machine and it develop a machine learning model. Okay, now this machine learning model we use for prediction. Okay, now this is the input data that I have. Okay, now when I want to check if my machine has understood the data or not, what we do is we test the machine. Okay, so this is called training data. Okay, the reason why I am calling training data is the machine is trained by this data. It is understanding the patterns of this data. It knows that if all the four sides are, if there are four sides like this with two sides bigger and two sides smaller, we call it as rectangle. If it is round in shape, it is called circle. Okay, if it has three sides like this, it is a triangle and hexagon. The machine understands the patterns and the names for each pattern. So this is called training. Okay, so once the machine is trained, the model is developed on this training data. What we do is we test our model. Okay, so how do we test our model? I randomly give two symbols out of four symbols. I randomly give two symbols here. Okay, I have given triangle and circle. So this machine will give the prediction saying this shape is triangle and this shape is circle. I didn't give the names here, I just gave the shape where my machine is able to predict the output of those shapes, saying that is a triangle and this is a circle. Okay, so supervised learning deals with labeled data. Okay, now when I talk about an example, let's look into an example. Okay, so here I have three coins. Okay, so this is 1 rupee, this is 1 dirham and this is some other currency. Okay, so how does a machine understand that? By weight. Okay, I am taking a parameter or feature called weight. If it is 3 gram, it is 1 rupee. If it is 7 grams, this is the currency. If it is 4 grams, this is the currency. Okay, now weight is nothing but the feature that I am taking. Feature is nothing but the parameter that I am using for identifying that. In the previous example, the shape was the feature. Okay, so here the weight is the feature. Okay, and what is the currency? Currency is nothing but label. Inputs are called as features, the outputs are called as labels. Okay, now if it is 3 grams, it is 1 rupee coin. Okay, now when I give this particular 3 grams, I am specifying that 3 grams is 1 rupee coin. Okay, so when I give the input image saying the grams, it is 3 grams, my machine learning model will understand that it is a 1 rupee. Okay, so feature here is the gram. The output here or the label here is the rupee. It is 1 rupee, 1 dirham, $1 or whatever it is. Okay, so depending upon the label feature, I am predicting, the machine is predicting the output. Okay, now when I talk about unsupervised learning, As you can see here, I have 6 images here. Okay, I am not having any labels to the images. As you can see, there are 2 apples, 2 bananas and 2 mangoes. The input data is raw here. I don't have any names to each of them. Okay, now machine will not understand what exactly they are, but machine can group them, right? So this is called as unsupervised learning. Okay, so when you look into this, the machine reads this data. Okay, it gets trained on this data, process the data, and what it does is, as I don't have any labels, I divide them into 3 groups. Okay, so this is apple group, this is banana group, and this is a mango group. Okay, so this is called as clustering. Clustering is nothing but making some clusters or some groups. Okay, so as you can see, let us discuss about an example. So I have names of some cricketers, and then I have the score the score done by them and the wickets they have taken. Okay, now I don't have any names of the cricketers. I don't want about who scored what. My intention is to find out how many batsmen are there, how many bowlers are there. Okay, the cricketers who does more runs are the good batsmen. The cricketers who takes more wickets are the good bowlers. Okay, now I am not bothered about the names here. I am bothered about the features which are nothing but scores and wickets. So depending on this, I'll divide them into 2 groups. They are called as batsmen and bowlers. Okay, now when I give this input data to a machine learning model, this is unsupervised because I'm not bothered about the names. Okay, I don't have any labels. So I take wickets and runs. Okay, so depending upon wickets and runs, I'll cluster them. As you can see here in the pattern, if they take more wickets, okay, they'll not be able to do more runs, right? So maybe all-rounders might be there, but usually the trend is more the wickets they take, less the runs they do. More runs they do, less the wickets they take, right? So this is the data. Okay, so if they take more wickets, they are bowlers. If they do more runs, they are nothing but your batsmen. Okay, so here in the x-axis they are taking more wickets here. Okay, it is increasing. So these are bowlers. Here in the y-axis the runs are increasing. So they are the batsmen. So we are clustering the data into some groups. Okay, clustering is one of the algorithm in unsupervised learning methods. Okay, so this is a workflow of unsupervised learning methods. So we have unlabeled data, we create clustering models and we make predictions. Okay, so the machine learns from the data, it gives to the clustering model. Depending upon this unlabeled data, you can make predictions as groups into clusters. Okay, so clustering is the process of dividing the data set into some groups consisting of smaller data points. Okay, now it means grouping of objects based on the information. As we have seen, apples, bananas and mangoes are different. Bowlers and batsmen are into one group, one category. Okay, so the goal of clustering is basically to determine the grouping of unlabeled data. Okay, so that is about clustering. So where do we use them? Okay, so in Amazon we have different clusters, right? Fashion, footwear. In fashion again, clothing, footwear, electronics. We have different categories, right? So depending upon the product image, the appearance of that image or feature of the image, is each one of them is put into different categories or clusters, I say. Okay, so in retail, in banking, in insurance companies, Netflix, we get recommendations, right, based on romantic movies, horror movies, thriller movies, comedy movies, fiction. There are nothing but different clusters where input is put into depending upon the reviews or depending upon the content in that. Okay, so that is all about your unsupervised learning. Okay, and next, third type of machine learning algorithms or machine learning systems is reinforcement learning. Okay, so as you can see here in reinforcement learning, so we have undefined driving situation here. So where the input is nothing but when I talk about Tesla cars, okay, so they have cameras, radars, GPS, they have vehicle state, lidar, so many things. So neural network model is reinforcement learning model actually takes this input and predicts the output depending upon the environment. Okay, so reinforcement learning is advanced learning machine learning models where the input is given, the system process the input, and based on the surroundings, actions would be taken on that particular input. Tesla cars are example of reinforcement learning methods. Okay, so reinforcement is a type of machine learning where an agent learns to behave in an environment by performing some actions. Okay, so if I want my machine to reach that cup, okay, so I have to look into the environment and perform some actions such that my task would be completed. So depending upon the environment, my action would be taken. So this is all about reinforcement learning. Okay, so if you want to see the analogy of reinforcement learning, okay, as you can see here in this scenario, we see baby starts crawling and makes it to the candy. Okay, now when you look into this scenario 2, baby starts crawling but falls due to some hurdle in between. Okay, so depending upon the environment, okay, the baby takes action. Okay, so here the child is the agent. You have to understand three terms here: agent, action and reward. Okay, so when I talk about this particular example, the child is the agent who is trying to move through the environment. Okay, now what do you mean by taking actions? Baby walking is taking action. The baby walks step by step. Okay, and what is the reward? Whether the baby has reached to that particular task or not is the reward. Okay, so this is all about reinforcement learning, where the action agent performs on the actions to reach the goal. Okay, the advanced applications are nothing but machine learning applications deals with reinforcement learning. Okay, so as we can see, all the machine learning algorithms are categorized into supervised, unsupervised and reinforcement learning. Okay, so two important machine learning algorithms under supervised are classification and regression, and under this classification and regression we have so many other different algorithms, and each algorithm is chosen depending on the data set and depending upon the target variable that we take. Okay, so under unsupervised, as we have seen, clustering, dividing in groups, because unsupervised is all about unlabeled data. Okay, and then reinforcement learning is all about decision making. Under each category of supervised, unsupervised and reinforcement, we have different machine learning algorithms. One important thing that you have to understand is, under unsupervised we have clustering, under supervised we have regression and classification, and under reinforcement we have decision making. Okay, so this is all about machine learning systems: supervised, unsupervised and reinforcement. Thank you.